Your discipline builds your future. Welcome to Clartify.
You're not unproductive. You're productive at the wrong things. And that sentence alone explains why so many people work hard for years and still feel like they're standing in the same place. Most people don't suffer from laziness. They suffer from movement without direction. They wake up early. They stay busy. They fill their days with tasks, messages, meetings, notes, lists. And at the end of the day, they feel tired, but not fulfilled. They feel active, but not advanced. That's the illusion of productivity. Being busy feels responsible. It feels mature. It feels like progress. But movement is not the same as progress. You can move all day and still go nowhere. And that's exactly what's happening to most people. The modern world rewards activity, not results. Visibility, not impact. Motion, not direction. So people learn to optimize for looking productive instead of becoming effective. They answer messages quickly. They keep their inbox clean. They attend meetings. They organize systems. They plan. They replan. They prepare. And preparation becomes a substitute for progress. You tell yourself, I'm setting things up, but years pass, and nothing fundamental changes. The problem is not that you're doing nothing. The problem is that you're doing things that feel important but change nothing. That's why this trap is so dangerous. If you were lazy, the problem would be obvious. But you're not lazy. You're active. And activity hides stagnation better than rest ever could. This is why high performers get stuck here more than anyone else. Because they are capable. Because they are intelligent. Because they can stay busy indefinitely. Busy becomes a form of protection. As long as you're busy, you don't have to face the uncomfortable question, why isn't my life actually moving? Busy days give emotional relief. They give you a sense of control. You go to bed thinking, at least I did something today. But deep down, you know the important thing was avoided. And avoidance dressed as productivity is the most expensive mistake people make. Because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like responsibility. Most people don't avoid work. They avoid leverage. They avoid the actions that would actually change their trajectory, because those actions are uncomfortable, risky, and visible. So instead, they do safe work. Work that feels productive but doesn't expose them to failure. Cleaning, organizing, optimizing, researching, learning more, preparing more. None of these are bad. They're just rarely decisive. And decisive actions are what move life forward. Decisive actions create tension. They create consequences. They create a clear before and after. Busy work doesn't. Busy work fills time without forcing change. That's why people prefer it. The illusion deepens when effort increases. You start telling yourself, I'm working harder than most people, and you might be right. But effort without direction is just exhaustion with better branding. Hard work doesn't guarantee progress when it's applied to the wrong layer. Imagine pushing a car with the engine off. You're working hard. You're sweating. You're exhausted. But you're still pushing the wrong thing. That's what most productivity looks like. People push harder instead of stepping back and asking why they're pushing at all. The illusion of productivity thrives in complexity. Complex systems feel important. Complex routines feel advanced. Complex plans feel intelligent. But complexity often hides fear. Fear of simplicity. Fear of clarity. Fear of doing the one thing that would actually matter. Simple actions expose truth. If the path is simple and clear, there's nowhere to hide. You can't blame confusion. You can't blame lack of information. You can't blame circumstances. That's why people complicate their lives. They don't do it consciously. They do it defensively. Complexity gives cover. It allows you to say, it's complicated right now, and complicated becomes permission to delay the uncomfortable move. Most people don't lack clarity. They lack courage. But instead of admitting that, they create systems, routines, and structures that keep them busy enough to avoid facing it. This is why productivity culture is so dangerous. It teaches people to measure effort instead of outcomes. You feel productive because you checked boxes, not because you moved forward. But boxes reset every day. Progress doesn't. Real progress creates instability. When you move forward, something changes. A door closes. A risk is taken. A possibility disappears. Busy work keeps all options open and all progress postponed. That's why people love it. It feels safe. You're not failing. You're just working on it, and working on it can last a lifetime. Years pass quietly in preparation mode. Not because people are stupid, but because they're afraid of finality. Real progress commits you to a direction, and commitment kills comfort. Once you commit, you can't pretend anymore. That's why people polish plans instead of executing decisions. They mistake refinement for advancement. But refinement without execution is just delay with better language. Look at your own life. Be honest. Where are you busy but unmoving? Which tasks make you feel productive but never actually change your situation? Which actions are safe because they don't force confrontation? Most people already know the answer. They just don't like it. Because the truth is uncomfortable. The truth is that progress often looks boring, simple, and scary. It doesn't look like optimization. It looks like reduction. Less projects. Less tasks. Less noise. More focus. More risk. More exposure. That's why illusionary productivity survives. It gives you something to do while avoiding what matters. And the cost is not immediate. That's the cruel part. Nothing collapses dramatically. Life just stalls. Months pass. Years pass. You become very good at managing a life that never quite changes. You don't fail. You plateau. And plateaus feel stable. That's why people defend them. They say they're being realistic, balanced, responsible. But deep down, they know the work they're doing is not proportional to the life they want. This is where the shift must happen. Not toward more productivity, but toward leverage. Leverage means fewer actions that create disproportionate results. And leverage always feels uncomfortable at first, because it removes the illusion. When you focus on leverage, you can no longer hide behind busyness. Either something moves, or it doesn't. There's no emotional padding. That's why people resist it. But this is the moment where life changes. When you stop asking, how can I do more? And start asking, what actually moves the needle? That question is dangerous. Because once you see the answer, you can't unsee it. And once you see it, busy work stops feeling innocent. It starts feeling like self-betrayal. That's why this illusion ruins lives quietly. Not through collapse, through delay. You don't lose everything. You lose momentum. And momentum is what creates identity. Without it, you stay the same person doing more things. This video is not asking you to work harder. It's asking you to work honestly. To notice where productivity became a shield. To notice where effort replaced courage. You don't need more systems. You need fewer lies. Fewer tasks that feel good and more actions that feel real. Progress is not loud. It's not impressive. It's often uncomfortable and lonely. But it moves. And movement beats motion every time. If you leave this video thinking about productivity tips, nothing changes. If you leave thinking about leverage, everything does. Most people will keep optimizing movement instead of choosing direction. They always do. If you don't, this channel is for you.
Thank you for watching. If you're ready to upgrade your mind and build unshakable discipline, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. More powerful lessons are coming. Stay disciplined. Stay clarify.